Welcome back to the series, everybody. This is episode 8. For those of you that have been watching, thank you so much for watching the previous 7. I know they were a little slow. A lot of welding and grinding and drilling and more welding and grinding and drilling. But we're moving out of that now. I'm real excited. There's a lot more going on in the project. Looking forward to some future episodes. We're going to have some 3D printing going on with some time lapses of the 3D printer running live, and when we're doing the wrists and stuff. And we're going to be making the head together in a future episode. We're going to add some AI and give it some voice and some character and getting it following some commands and telling jokes. But today we're going to build an arm. I've already done a rough draft of the left arm. I'm going to show you here in a second. And together on the camera, we're going to go ahead and build the right arm. I made a couple of the boring brackets ahead of time just to save more welding and drilling and grinding. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get started on the arm right now. There's the shoulder rotate up. And lifting. Rotate down, and then dropping down. Okay, and then that's what you guys saw last week. Now let's actually see the elbow and the bicep do its thing. So I'm going to go ahead and drop the elbow, raise the elbow. Now let's rotate the bicep. And out. And so that's the full arm motion. We're going to focus on this bracket, the elbow, and the forearm right now on the right hand side. Let me give you a closer look at the linkage for the bicep. And so there's that linkage. We're going to make all that and those bracketries today. And then let me show you the elbow. And the linkage is right here, and then it connects to the bottom of this stepper. And the same cam that you see here, it's just upside down there. Alright, so the very first bracket we got to make is obviously we got to start with the bracket that bolts the arm onto the robot, and it holds this stepper. And let me show you that now. There's already been so much welding and grinding and drilling in this series. Been trying to cut it down, so I made this bracket ahead of time. It's kind of a boring bracket to make and watch, so there it is. It's actually just 2 flat bar, 1.5 flat bars, and then put onto this flat plate. This flat plate is the product of trial and error over here, you know, working out exactly where to put the motor. I tried a few different positions and whatnot, but after some trial and error I ended up with this plate. Of course, this is just a mirror version of it. And it's the first piece of the arm over here for the right hand side. It's going to go right here on this lug pattern. And so there that is. Now the way that works, let's take a look over here. Another piece I have started to pre-make just to save you guys all the cutting and grinding and whatnot, but it's basically again a mirror of the left. There's that plate there. The exact same. And then there's this plate here that the bar is connected to at the top. And then there's a plate that elbow stepper mounts onto. And what we have here is we get these 2 bearings. That one goes on there, slides up. And this one mounts on the top. And so that gives us this connection here. You can imagine that with a bearing on the top, and then this bearing in here. And then that's bolted onto that lug pattern over there. Here's our elbow. So we got some welding we still got to do on that. So I will zap a little bit of this with you guys and get this bolted together. And we'll move right along here on the right side arm. Later on, when I get these designs a little farther along and I know for sure is what I'm going to go with, I'll add some gussets and brackets, but it's so much easier to make changes and cut stuff back apart without the gussets, and it saves you time. But for now, you know, here's that bracket. I'm getting these bearings mounted on there for you guys. Top one and bottom one. There it is, top and bottom bearing. That works real nice. Later on, you know, and I think I said this before, but if I stick with this design, we're going to cut this out and do some patterns in here and lighten this whole load dramatically and make it look cooler. But yeah, for now, it's just too much work to go into it when I, might toss this if the design goes south. But next step, let's actually bolt this on the robot and see what it looks like on the robot. Yeah, should fit pretty nicely on the lugs. I tried it out before, but things do like to move around. Got my high-speed wrench. Okay, pretty happy with it. Bicep motor, stepper motor, but NEMA 23. It's a 10-to-1 gear ratio and a 14mm drive with a keyway. So go ahead and put that up there on the bracket. And there it is. And we got the stepper motor for the bicep, and that's obviously the guy that turns this assembly as this shaft here turns. It turns after we hook up the linkage here in a minute. Turn this shaft. So yeah, so let's go ahead and get to the next step and start working on some linkage. So let's take another look at the linkage. This is the side we're working on here on the right side. There's the left side linkage that we need to make. And so, it consists of a collar, a bracket, and then another collar here. It's hard to see in the light, but another collar here, and then this plate here. I just did this big loop because it was helpful with what we're going to have to do next. Is the limit switches. But I actually have it as a stop right here, and it just, I thought it looked kind of cool. But yeah, so let's get that linkage done. We need 2 of these brackets to hook the linkage to. So this is a little deal I use to keep my line right. I will give it a chop. bracket 1. Here's the collar for it. And tie rod. Basically it'll alright, there's that guy. And then so here's the collar for the other side. And then this is going to be our little hunk of lever. It'll go right there for that side to turn back and forth. So I'll go ahead and cut that now. Bracket 2 for this linkage. I went ahead and cut it out without you guys. I figured you've seen enough cutting and grinding. So there's that linkage assembly. Next up I'm going to go ahead and weld it. Not getting too carried away with the weld, just going to put a little zap right in there. I'm going to do that now. Linkage. Let's put it on. A little Allen wrench. And there we have it. Now those two shafts, 1 and 2, are tied together with the linkage. So as the stepper motor turns, it will turn the whole arm, basically at the bicep section. Still got to tighten up the linkage a little more and fine tune it, but there it is. The next stepper gear assembly we need to install is for the elbow. Basically it's going to be the one that actuates right here and gets the arm to do this motion, and that's this guy here. Already made the bracket for the linkage. You guys just saw me make one, so no point in going through another one, but there's the linkage bracket stepper. Now this is actually a smaller, this is a 2.9 amp, so it's a little smaller than the last one we used for the bicep. And it's a 15-to-1 gearbox sitting on it. But yeah, this guy goes here. And so our next step is to go ahead and mount this on the bracketry that we've already put on the robot. Get it mounted on here. Just a little temporary hardware for now. We feel it out. I got to get some more hardware ordered, but for now I'm going to put these little buggers in there just to hold it in place. Alright, now we got our shoulder motor. We'll actually lift the forearm like this here, like I showed you guys a few minutes ago. So next step is I got a time lapse planned for doing the forearm, and hopefully it speeds things up as far as watching through all that welding and grinding. Let's go ahead and try that out now. Alright, so after whatever you want to call that, we got the right forearm section. But later on, it's going to get some motors in here that'll control the wrist in this open area. But you might have noticed some of them on the left-hand side I've been experimenting with. But yeah, there's our forearm. You guys have already seen me make linkage, so I'll spare you the boredom. So there's another linkage. Yeah, and then this will hook to that stepper motor, that good stepper. Here's an axle I'm using for the elbow. It's just a couple of cheapy little pillow bearings. I'll probably have to upgrade quality if I end up liking this design. I'm not too stoked on these bearings, but there's our pin for the elbow joint. I'll go through that guy there. So let's go ahead and put this on now and let it go. Here's the end of that elbow that we made earlier. I've actually made it to where you can jam this bad boy in there. Elbow axle pin. If I end up loving it, we're going to have to drill some holes here, obviously, and mount these pillow bearings, but I'll save you guys that boredom. So there's that action there. Probably going to weld a little half circle chunk of tubing or something over this later just to get the strength back, but I needed the clearance. Linkage. Some temporary hardware for testing her out. And this hooks up here to the stepper motor. It's hard to see in this shot, but there's that guy. So the stepper motor turns that linkage and then, or turns that bracket and then pulls the linkage in. Cool, so there's that. Let me show you real quick too, you guys. I've went ahead and mounted on the arm. You guys have seen in other episodes the limit switches. There's that one. See if I can give you a better shot of it. There it is. So it comes around and hits the lever. And so that'll be for the rotation of the bicep that we worked on earlier. You guys have just seen me do the switches before, so figured I'd save you guys a boredom, but let me show you where they are. Here's this one. I can get you a good shot of it. There it is. And then again, when that bracket right there spins, it comes around and then hits the switch. Right here. A little dark in there, sorry guys. But yeah, there's the whole complete arm. Finally, the robot has a right and a left. And so next step, let's have some fun testing it out. I'm going to go ahead and tighten up some of the bolts and hardware And it's time. Okay, let's see it move. I've just given it two basic commands, one that it uses to test itself, and just another one I threw in there for fun. It will obviously get a lot more commands as the project gets farther along, but for now, let's see it. Hey Mycroft, karate time.
Cycling my arms.
And just one for fun. Hey Mycroft, wax on, wax off.
Waxing on and waxing off.
Alright. Hey Jarvis. Say thank you for watching episode 8, everybody.
Thank you for watching episode 8, everybody.